Hello, Crypto YouTube, Crypto Family. This is Crypto Farang, pre-recorded from Thailand. And thank you so much for joining me today. I had no idea how weird it was going to be trying to do a YouTube channel. And basically talking at my computer screen with my dog napping in the background. It's kind of weird and wild, and well, what the hell? I'm giving this video a second take because well, the first one was just awful, to be honest with you. But hey, I am, in addition to many other things, an imperfect human, and I think it's important to keep trying. And after all, this is the 15 subscribers celebration video. Yes! We hit 15 subscribers today. And at this rate, I can monetize the channel in about 20 years. Thank you to my listeners for helping my dreams come true. So I would like to jump right into the content. However, it's important to mention, if you haven't done so already, please follow me on Twitter at CryptoFarang. And it's also important to mention that I am not a cryptocurrency expert, a blockchain specialist, or a financial advisor. I am just another digital asset maniac making YouTube content, which I'm sure you will gather on your own through the course of consuming any of my content here. But hey, thanks for joining me today, and let's take a glance at the market. So at almost 5 p.m. on Tuesday, after a great weekend, it looks like Bitcoin is finally settling down a little bit after going up over $9,000 USD. XRP is still above 23 cents, and VET is trading a little more sideways, but that shouldn't be a huge surprise given some of the significant price movements we've seen from VET over the last couple months. And anyone that knows me or anyone that knows my content knows that I am a perma bull on the space. These ups and downs are not all that significant to me. I think we're in the early stages of a bull market, and until the bull run happens, we're going to see a lot of ups and downs. But it is exciting, and I'll be bringing you the news on both either way. And you know what? If this thing explodes and implodes and just disappears, goes away tomorrow, I will be the first person to admit it. And then we'll see what kind of content I'm bringing at that time. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today was the juxtaposition between two articles, one from a year ago and one from just this past weekend. And it was interesting. One's a FUD article, fear, uncertainty, doubt, basically negative about the crypto space. Fast forward to a year later, it's an article that has a very positive sentiment about the cryptocurrency space. But what's most interesting is that this FUD article was from a year ago. And it showed up in my news feed as current and relevant news. So it's just interesting how this kind of stuff can still permeate into what is seems to be a growing positive sentiment about the cryptocurrency market. Why is this showing up in my Google feed? Well, it is Davos, the World Economic Forum that just happened. So it is that time of year, and so I guess that's why. And hey, we can compare the two. So if you don't know, the World Economic Forum, it happens every year in Switzerland, and it states here on trusty Wikipedia, the World Economic Forum's mission is cited as committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. Yes, I am sure it is for the greater social, greater common good, and I'm sure it's not just a bunch of rich people getting together every year to make their pockets fatter. So good on you there, Davos, every year. Okay, great. And let's talk about the first article, the FUD article. And again, as I mentioned, this is 1 year old. Investors in Davos separate Bitcoin and blockchain, claim BTC will go to zero. Now, man, we were hearing a ton of that a year ago for sure. And we were in the midst of this extremely bearish time period for digital assets and Bitcoin. And as the article states, as the World Economic Forum continues in Davos, Switzerland, there is a significant amount of negative commentary coming from investors and analysts regarding Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Jeff Shoemaker, the founder of BCG Digital Ventures, a blockchain-focused investment firm, who told CNBC that although Bitcoin as a technology is interesting, its value as a currency is null. I do believe it will go to zero. I think it's a great technology, but I don't believe it's a currency. It's not based on anything, end quote, he bearishly noted. Now, yeah, I mean, so as the saying goes, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy. I was accumulating Bitcoin and digital assets all through the last 2 years. Whenever I had money, extra money to invest, I was typically throwing money at digital assets. So there was this echo chamber in the mainstream media, in the mainstream news, that Bitcoin's garbage, how it's just used for all this nefarious stuff, blah, blah, blah. The value's going to zero, and, it was not performing well. But in the last 9 months, we've seen the cryptocurrency space come back in a big way. And if history does repeat or rhyme, we're going to see some really exciting price movements, positive price movements in the next 18 months, 2 years. Now, being that this market is so new, it's hard to make accurate predictions. But like I said, if history does repeat or rhyme. Now, if you scroll down, so this is not just pure FUD. The article does do a good job of making note of both sides, and it makes reference to a big Bitcoin maximalist, Andreas Antonopoulos, and some of his opinions and attitudes about Bitcoin. And when I listen to Andreas Antonopoulos, and he's real popular on YouTube and social media, I agree with a lot of what he has to say about Bitcoin and the fundamentals. I am not a maximalist. I do diversify. But I do agree with a lot of his points. And, I've stayed bullish through this whole process. And so fast forward here to the end of the article, and this segues nicely into the next one. Although cryptocurrencies are still seen as fake money in much of the traditional financial industry, as they gain more widespread adoption, they will also garner greater respect from the financial industry as a whole. So this next article from Barron's, this is a news source, a news site that is typically regarded as being commenting on traditional investments. So this is not a cryptocurrency site. Bitcoin just made the big time. The Davos crowd has signed on. Now, this is in explicit contrast to the last article I just read. Cryptocurrency is being embraced by the Davos set, and some Bitcoin fans are excited. The World Economic Forum said on Friday that it is putting together a consortium made up of public and private sector leaders to write guidelines for cryptocurrency governance. The price of Bitcoin rose after the announcement, which just came after noon, over 8,400 now. Over the weekend, Bitcoin hit and dropped back down under 9K, as it just did. Bill Miller, the famous value investor who bought the digital currency before it surged in 2017, has said that Bitcoin has been on a march to respectability that should gradually benefit in its price. Now, that's how I feel about where Bitcoin stands today. You have all this retail, institutional interest, traditional investment firms accumulating Bitcoin. The narrative is that Bitcoin is this gold 2.0, digital gold, a store of value. I think in the short to medium term that is absolutely true. And this article goes on to mention the Facebook Libra coin. Now, if you don't know about Libra, Facebook is attempting to launch its own digital asset. And with access to 2.5 billion of the world's population, you can imagine how much power that would garner to the entity behind said digital asset. So obviously, U.S. regulators are extremely concerned, and central banks, these big financial players that are meeting in Davos this year, they're all trying to find out how to mitigate any of the damage to the traditional system that this could potentially do. And so they're frantically scurrying, trying to figure out, how are we going to combat this Libra coin? I absolutely believe that Facebook Libra is going to launch. I'm not sure when. I think that in the short term, it's going to expose a lot of people to digital assets. But the idea of a company like Facebook, I mean, it is the only company like Facebook, having all this power is just insane. But these central banks and these traditional financial institutions, they are going to have their own central bank digital currencies as a way to try to, stay relevant. And it's really crazy to think about. So at the end of the day, I think that is probably more a reason than any on why Bitcoin is becoming more legitimized, why the cryptocurrency space is becoming more legitimized, because it's going to happen with or without these people. And so it doesn't surprise me one bit that this is the attitude. This is the sentiment that we're hearing today versus a year ago. And the article ends with government leaders had previously seen cryptocurrencies mainly as a way for criminals and political dissidents to move money around the world without being detected, which is just absolutely ridiculous, given that cash is harder to track than anything. Once these different digital assets start to interact with each other, it's going to be so much easier for governments to track people. Let's look at what China is doing currently. China is developing and will very soon release its own digital currency. It's one of the last pieces in the puzzle for China to really effectively monitor and control its population. If somebody starts acting crazy, well, China's going to be able to just turn off their money. So as exciting as it is to be a digital asset investor in this nascent market, it's also scary as hell because, well, I don't think any of us can accurately predict where this is all going. And once the United States gets on board with its own digital currency, the Fed coin, which I'm sure it will, what is that going to mean for us as American citizens? So these are all things that are extremely interesting and extremely important to think about. I tend to be somewhat narrow-minded and short-sighted when talking and thinking about investing in digital assets because I am confident that I'm going to see some profits, short to medium term. But yeah, long term, where's this thing all going? I really couldn't tell you. But I hope that you enjoyed the video today. And it was my pleasure to provide you with this content. I hope it wasn't too dystopian by the end. If you haven't done so already, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. As a reminder, please treat others the way that you'd like to be treated. And remember, crypto hindsight is always 20/20. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.